Staffing will also be affected due to the socio-culture environment or the socio-environmental culture of the society. There are two types of factors which will affect staffing. One is external and one more is internal. Skilled workers and machines operators are increasingly required while the demand for other employees has reduced. The only thing the organization wants from you is what is that you're gonna do to the organization rather than what is organization gonna do to you. Hello everybody, a warm welcome to one and all. I'm Abhilash from the Department of Commerce and Management in Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. Welcome to all the students here. Now, last session I told you about staffing and what really happens in staffing. The same, we'll go for a quick recall. Staffing definition, I'll tell you. Now, when we go with the definition staffing, according to Coons and O'Donnell, please remember these names. Coons and O'Donnell, the managerial function of staffing involves manning the organizational structure through proper and effective selection, appraisal and development of personnel to fill the roles designed into the structure. This is what Coons and O'Donnell explains. Now, when we go with Benjamin, now Benjamin is also a person who have contributed a lot for management and human resource staffing. Define that the process involved in identifying, assessing, placing, evaluating and directing individuals at work is called as staffing. Now, both the ways, if you understand, there's something called managing human resources is called staffing, that is selecting, recruiting, performance appraisal, manpower planning, all those things are involved in staffing so that you can achieve the organizational goals. When we go with the factors which affects staffing, there are two types of factors which will affect staffing. One is external and one more is internal. When we understand external and internal, now internal is within the company or within the organization, but when it comes to external, it is the out of the organization, whatever happens, that will also affect staffing. Now, you'll be surprised at how the outside factor will have an effect over staffing. So, the first one here, if you understand, the external one, that is political factors. Now, political stability, political parties and their political gimmicks, formation of new political parties, splits in the trade union, etc. These changes in trade unions complicate the task of staffing. Now, how it will work? Now, you want to hire a right person for a right job at a right time. That is called staffing, isn't it? Now, through political parties also, you will have a pressure that you are supposed to select those people only. After that, politics will actually go for the opposition, that is, their government will crash. Now, the new government will come. Now, again, what happens is, again, trade union is done. Again, their followers will be in the right person for a right job. Now, what happens is, staffing will be according to the political supports. Next is economic factors. Now, number of economic factors affect staffing of an organization by influencing system. By what? Influencing system, national income, per capita income, distribution of income and wealth, etc. Now, you need to understand that entire India, if you take an example, the way the laborers are working in Mysore is not the way the laborers works in Jammu and Kashmir or Gujarat or Mizoram. The reason is what? Staffing will affect because of economic condition of that particular state or the capital of the state or the district in that particular state. Social factors. Now, social environment consists of social roles, social values, caste structure, occupational structure, social forward and backward sections, religious culture, etc. These factors are also affecting staffing. How will these factors affect? The way they are nurtured, the way they behave, the way their community have taught them, the religion have taught them, the caste have taught them, the way they are being treated, Now what happens is staffing will also be affected due to the socio-culture environment or the socio-environmental culture of the society. The fourth one is legal factor. Now how a legal factor is being affected. Now these are the various provision which affects the staffing policy of an organization. Say example, the Act 1986. The Act 1986 provide the restriction of free recruitment of child labor. These factor also affects the staffing process of the organization. Now earlier what used to happen is 1986 and before, child labor was not a crime. Now what has happened is when we go with more of legal factors, because of law, now the government have introduced so many welfare, that is a law welfare or a labor welfare laws. What has happened is staffing will be in effect. Due to that, you are supposed to check whether the person has attained the age of 14 or he has not attained the age of 14, whether the person has cleared 18 year or he is still 18 or less. Again, it's all because of a law. Now when we understand staffing, it's a process of selecting a right person for a right job at a right time, and here you are supposed to go with the recruitment, selection, interview, then you will again go with selection, again you will go with all the kind of a thing like placement, orientation, and later you will understand that legal factors which will affect the staffing, you feel that the person whom you have taken have qualified all those things, but later it is because of the act you will get to know that you are not supposed to hire those people. So that's the reason these are the factors which always affect the staffing process. And when we go with it, that is the number fifth one, that is called the customers. Now any organization depends upon customers of their survival and growth. Organization surveys are less qualitative, in which customers may develop negative attitude towards the organization. Now here what happens is, though we haven't done anything personally to the customer, but because of customers' behavior also staffing will have an impact. Say example, when we go with it. See, I'm a person who's a sales manager in a company and I want to sell something to the customer. Now the customer doesn't like me. And the customer is the only person who's a king in the society right now. And if he reports to my boss saying that I didn't handle them properly, now again there is a problem in staffing. Now you cannot say that whatever the customer have said, we will not take it, we will keep that person. You will always have an impact on the customer as well. That is, any organization, they depend upon customer for their survival and growth. Organization services are less qualitative, in which customer may develop negative attitude. So staffing depends on all these external factors. The first one I told you about, political. The second is economical. Third is social. Fourth is legal. And the fifth one is all about the customer. Now sometimes what happens is, though the customer feels that the person who have not given a proper service to the customer, still the customer doesn't feel like approaching to the manager. But sometimes what happened, due to the customer's feedback, many people have lost their job also. So be very wise whenever you go for any of the feedback to the services. You are supposed to be very wise and then go with it. And the same way, if you are providing service to any customer, you are supposed to always have patience and then go with the proper services. Next one is internal factors. When we understand internal factor, it is the micro environment, that is within the company, how staffing is affecting the things. First one, size of the organization. Now staffing practice depends upon the size of the organization. A small organization cannot have the same staffing practice which a large organization may have. That means you can't compare both the firms, like a small organization to a medium organization to a large organization. Staffing depends on each and every size, nature, and the way the organization runs. Next one is organizational image. Now, how the staffing will affect the organizational image? In the sense, if the organization is very good, established, Now you will not be hiring people who are freshers. You will always hire people who are experienced. But sometimes what happens is even you will be missing out the young talent who are the freshers because of your reputation in the company and in the industry. What usually happens is you will miss out those freshly recruited candidates. Now, the image of an organization in human resource market depends on its staffing practice, like facilities for training and development, compensation and incentives, and work culture. If all these factors are positive, an organization may be in a better position to attract the candidates and the customers. Now, here you need to understand, when we go with kind of a staffing where the image of the organization will also be recognized, the more and more they are spending the infrastructure for human development, human resources, or if they want to keep their staffs happy, now what happens is automatically the organizational images changes. Due to that, staffing will have an effect. Technological factors. Now in technological changes, technical personnel, that is personnel means staff, skilled workers and machines operators are increasingly required while the demand for other employees has reduced. See, now pandemic has come. The technology is changed. It's not the way the business is running the way it was running. Everything is changed. People who are experienced but they don't know about technology, and people who don't have experience but they know about technology, now there is a problem. The reason here is you need to understand that when you go for a kind of staffing will make sure that right person should be there at the right time. Now the technology is in a hub. Many companies will actually hire more people who are technologically or technically they are really good. Now what happens to the other people who are not technically strong? Now they will be going for a layoff. That is where it will affect the staffing. The procurement of skilled employees and their increases in number to match the changing job requirement has become a complicated task. Now, many people have lost their job in this pandemic. The only reason is they are not technically feasible. And people who are technically feasible but they have not got any experience, but still they are working only because of the latest updates. So that is what you are supposed to understand. Now, changes in employee role. Nowadays, what happens is the relationship in which employees and management are partners in the organization. The management improves the staffing process by three of the things. What exactly those things are? Now, there is a relation between the employees and the management. The first one here is the provide various benefits to improve morale. You should always think about how to improve the morale. Second, to introduce negotiating machinery to reduce grievances. And the last one is to encourage employees' participation in decision making. I'll tell you, if the employees start participating in decision making, your staffing will be very, very easy, because they'll tell you what is the things they really require, what are things which is not required at all. So here, staffing will definitely play a very important role when you go with to introduce negotiating machinery to reduce grievances. Grievances are there everywhere. You are supposed to understand what exactly the grievances and then go for the things. Education. Now, how staffing will be affected due to education? Try to understand this. The well-educated employee always challenge and question the management's decisions and want to be a voice in the company's affairs affecting their interests. Thus, management of well-educated employee is a problem to the organization, though they make valuable contribution. Now here you need to understand, sir, everywhere education is needed. Now why there is a problem? If you have more education, then there is a problem, or it will be an effect of staffing. If you ask me a question, my answer will be like this. Organization right now, they don't want people to question them. Organization wants people to only work. That means they just want the people to use their body rather than their brain. That is, whatever the task is given by the organization, you people shouldn't talk, but you should give the approach what really it should be done. But suggestions are not taken from you. But when it comes to education, what happens is you will be understanding theoretically that these are the basic things the company should give. But when you go to the company, then you'll understand whatever you learned in theoretical, it is only for the examination, but what happens in a company, that is the real life. So the more you understand the theoretical, and if you compare it with the practical, I'll tell you it is going to be very difficult for you. The only thing the organization wants from you is what is that you're going to do to the organization rather than what is organization going to do to you. So you are supposed to have a patience and then go for it. Definitely all the organization will use their own strategies of implementing how a person should work rather than how a person should dictate his terms. So no organization wants any person to be very smart where he will start dictating his terms. The organization can't take it. So that is how education will also be a factors which will affect the staffing. So I've completed all the internal and the external. Both we have 5 points each when we understand this. And please do remember all the 5 points of factors which are externally affected and the factors which are internally affected. This is a 10 marks question in your board papers. Please understand all these things. If you have any doubt regarding this, please do call us. We are always there to help you. Thank you so much. I'll see you when I see you.